As the world moves towards platforms, companies will have to place multiple bets, very specifically aiming for one of these three positions to avoid becoming commoditized. We've already seen this happen in a big way in at least two industries. In both these industries, we've seen most of the power and profit as a result of this moving towards the central platform companies. So if we look at, for example, the media industry, the traditional media industry used to rely on two things: great content and great distribution. And so companies like the New York Times, traditional media companies, would always focus on creating the best content and owning the best channels of distribution to the user. What happened was that there were two important technological shifts that changed the rules of this industry. The first was that the internet made distribution extremely cheap. And so we started seeing the advantage of distribution moving away. Online news could be distributed for free, and everybody could have access to that. The second was that along with the rise of the internet, there was a corresponding rise in publishing tools. Adobe started putting out its entire publishing suite for free in the late 90s, and a lot of other companies like Dreamweaver started putting out their publishing tools out for users to use. Blogging came up, Twitter came up, and because of all of this access to new publishing tools, content became free to produce as well. When distribution became free and content became free to produce, the traditional advantages of the media industry were impacted, were directly attacked by this change in technology. And this is why the power in both these industries shifted to whoever understood the user best and whoever understood their data and had an engaging relationship with the user. And companies, essentially two companies, Facebook and Google, came up and they had the best data about the user, and they had the most engaging service towards the user in the form of a search engine or a news feed. And because of this, all media companies started becoming dependent on Facebook and have increasingly become completely commoditized unless they focus on very specific and very niche content, say live sports updates or business content, where they can then differentiate themselves to some extent. But even then, if you look at the media industry, their business models have moved away from pasting ads to running events, and that already shows how power in the industry shifted to these two companies in particular. We saw the same thing happen in the telecom industry, where, again, the traditional telecom industry evolved in the following manner. In the late 90s, early 2000s, the telcos were in the most powerful position because they had access to the end user. And they had all the data about the end user to serve that particular user. And then there was a shift in technology, and Java phones came out. And the big shift because of Java phones was that the application could now sit on the handset instead of be bundled by the telco. And when Java phones came up and the applications could now sit on the handset, the ownership of the IP, the applications, shifted from the telco to the handset manufacturers. And in a period of just 5 to 7 years, companies like Nokia and BlackBerry gained market share and gained market size because of the fact that they owned the most important position in that whole value chain. And then, as I mentioned, two important changes happened. The cloud came up, so applications could now be hosted on the cloud instead of on the handset. And 3G connectivity came up, because of which you could now interact with applications hosted on the cloud. And so power shifted away from the handset manufacturer to the platform owner, in this case, Apple and Google. And so in these two examples, in the media industry and in the telecom industry, we've seen that the shift in technology fundamentally changes the profit pools, fundamentally changes the business models, and moves power away to these platform companies.